Howdy. Yeehaw. It's Cowboy Black. I couldn't resist. My prediction is that in 2025, Beyonce is going to win every possible Grammy that is on the table. I mean, she's not going to win for classical music. Maybe that'd be 2026. This coming year, she can't lose. You have to understand the playbook. First of all, I'm not a country music fan. I could care less about country music, to be honest with you. Unless it's Johnny Cash or maybe a little Merle Haggard or something like that, I can care less about country music. As far as Beyonce goes, I'm not a Beyonce fan either. So for me, it's a lose-lose. Because next year, she is going to win every Grammy that she can possibly win. Let me spell it out for you. She brought on board for the album Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, Paul McCartney, and Stevie Wonder, just to name a few. So you can only picture it that at the end of the night on the TV show, because it's all about it being a TV show, at the end of the night on stage will be Beyonce with Paul McCartney, Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson, and Stevie Wonder. God willing that they're all still alive, because she basically pulled 4 80-year-olds and one 70-something-year-old. I don't think Stevie's 80 yet. Paul definitely is. Macca. Dolly's gotta be. Willie Nelson's 90. So they'll all be there. Oh, John Batiste is on the album too. I mean, how do you lose? You can't lose, and you shouldn't lose. Then the skids were primed, as they say, at this past Grammys, because Jay-Z gets on stage and says, how does Beyonce not have Album of the Year when she's won 37 Grammys? Now, I could flip the script on him a little bit, as he would like to do. I could say, how do you win 37 Grammys and you've never had the Album of the Year? So in other words, you fattened up on some real BS categories maybe, but you didn't make a great enough album to get Album of the Year. A couple other things I could spell out for you as to why she'll win. There's got to be, one song had 14 writers and 6 producers. There's power in numbers, let's put it this way. If you are a Grammy Foundation or Grammy Org member, which I don't even bother with anymore, to be honest with you, you have to be a member to vote on the Grammys. So if you have an album, let's just go to extreme. Let's just say you have 1,000 people work on your album, and let's just throw a hypothetical out there that 900 of them are voting members. I think you got 900 votes coming your way real quick in that category or for that record. Back in the day, there was a rumor, I can't back it up 100%, but there was a rumor that record labels would call up people that had credits, because you had to have credits to get in the Grammy Foundation back then. It was called NARIS. They would call you up. I may have received one of those phone calls saying, hey, Tony, you've got enough credits now to become a voting member for NARIS. Would you like to be a member? Because we have some extra memberships, so to speak. In other words, they were going to pay for my membership, which I don't know, back then might have been $100 or something like that. But they were going to make it very convenient and say, hey, we got you all signed up. I wonder why they would want to do that. Maybe because I was working on records that they were part of. Beyonce decided to go at it at the country angle. It was probably a little bit of a thought process of you know what? R&B albums don't win Album of the Year. You gotta have something different. You have to have a singer-songwriter, or you have to have, usually they are sort of entourage kind of albums, or, there was one year when Oh Brother, Where Art Thou won a whole bunch of Grammys. Why? Because there was literally 150 people that worked on the record. There was a couple of great tunes, but was it Album of the Year or Record of the Year? Not sure about that. Did Hollywood have a little bit to do with putting it through? The year that I was part of Diary of Alicia Keys, we were nominated for Album of the Year, and there were a couple of huge records. There was the Usher. There were a couple of gigantic records where I thought, I don't know. I don't think we really got a shot at Album of the Year when there's a Ray Charles and Friends album, and Ray Charles had, rest in peace, had died leading up to the Grammys. What do you think the chances are that that album was going to win Record of the Year or Album of the Year. It won. And I will tell you this, that in the crowd where I was, on the floor, a couple of people right next to me said, another Grammy moment. And it was one of those, yeah, we know what's going on. And the usual suspects got up there to accept the award, guys who were planted stalwarts in the industry, and they had a big reach, let's say. That might be the good word for it. So that's my overall spin on or take on the upcoming sweep. This would be the biggest sweep of all time. She will win Album of the Year, Record of the Year. That'll probably be the Jolene redo because she rewrote Jolene, which, quite frankly, to me has always been a shitty song or an overrated song to begin with. But, that was a way to pull Dolly Parton in and get her blessing. Now, here's the other thing. Do you really think, like Paul McCartney, let her use the original tracks for Blackbird? When I heard the version the other day, I actually dialed it up and listened to it. When I heard it, I was like, wow, man, that guy, whoever the guy is, really nailed the guitar part, even the metronome sounding thing, or the foot tapping metronome sound. So I had to look it up, and that's when I found out that they actually used the original masters of Paul McCartney playing Blackbird. I mean, she just re-sang Paul's part, for all I paid attention to. They threw a gigantic choir on it. Paul gave it his blessing. Now, what does that mean? Paul gave it his blessing. I mean, Paul doesn't need the money, but he's going to make the money, and he's going to get a little, have some fun. He's going to be on stage at the Grammys when, this entire gigantic celebration goes off. And also, think about the politics of the whole thing. Would it have been a good look if word got out that Paul McCartney said no? Or if Dolly Parton said, no, I don't want you to rewrite any lyrics to Jolene? How do you think that would go over, let's just say, in today's cancel culture kind of thing? Did you hear Dolly Parton didn't want to join in on the Beyonce Let's Get Grammy of the Year party? Like I said, I could care less about Beyonce. I could care less about country music. And to be honest with you, what do the Grammys mean to me? It's a TV show. And if you're someone on the outside or whatever, and you want to understand what the Grammys are about, understand that the Grammys are a TV show, a marketing tool / TV show. That's, maybe at one point years ago, it had some merit in that, people weren't voting for each other or voting for their friends. Those things have changed. And if you think that you're ever going to see 12 winners on television that you've never heard of, but got voted for because people loved their records or thought that they were the best records, you are delusional. I mean, that's the reason why you don't see a lot of the awards on television, because they're not interested in putting best bluegrass fiddle player or whatever on TV at 8:30 at night on Channel 7 or whether ABC or whatever the hell does. This is a bit of coffee with me on a session break. I did watch if you made it this far, I did watch a very interesting interview with Danny Kortchmar. It's from a couple of years ago, and Danny is an amazing musician, producer, songwriter, and if you don't know who he is, Kortchmar, Danny Kortchmar. I'll put a link in the description of the interview that I saw. There's another one of these podcasts this one was a little more legit. I've seen some podcasts recently where I'm like, why the hell would so-and-so do this podcast when the guy has 43 followers or subscribers and he gets 43 views, and here you are, more or less a legendary producer or artist, and you're on their channel. Like, where are things at this point? But the Danny Kortchmar thing is amazing because he talks about the networking that he was doing as a kid, but it wasn't really networking. It was musicians meeting other musicians and knowing each other in this gigantic community that more or less started for him in New York and then moved over to LA when he was part of the Laurel Canyon sound a little bit. You know, he did Carole King Tapestry and Sweet Baby James Taylor. I mean, he grew up with James Taylor, then they became friends again when he found out that James Taylor was singing. Mind-boggling family tree of people that he worked with and how his whole career progressed, and had dips and valleys and peaks and all that. Did a lot of work with Don Henley. Now he's got that documentary on TV called Immediate Family, which is, I guess, was kind of a take on the whole thing of the musicians of the 70s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s. There was a communal thing. And I mean, I don't know how young musicians now can sort of band together or network together and play on each other's records when they're all working in rooms like this, like, you know, alone, connected via the internet. It's just a different thing. You're never gonna see that whole communal thing ever come back again. The innocence, not gonna happen. So I think that'll about cover it. Once I clean it all up, title this thing up. I've noticed I don't know if everyone else has noticed, but on YouTube, I think the algorithm is working more violently than ever or faster than ever, in that, like, if you watch one video that you just have a thought in your head like, oh, you know what, I haven't watched a video about this Gretsch guitar that I'm really interested in. So let me search Gretsch 6120 and watch a video. As soon as you come back onto your YouTube page, you know, with your feed and everything, it's like filled with Gretsch, or filled with the last two videos that you've watched will now inundate your feed. You have to kind of look at your subs and stuff like that, and to even remember some of the channels that are like thrown to the bottom or like dusted for you. You have to like sort of remind YouTube to let you see things that you used to like, you know. Something from maybe 2 weeks ago is just literally wiped off the face of your feed. And I don't know where that's heading. I think they need to slow it down maybe a little bit, where, like, you know, calm down. If I click on one guitar, that doesn't mean I want to see 50 videos about that guitar. I would like the variety that used to be there. Or at least I think it used to be there.